Phoenix Symphony guest conductor Steve Hackman is combining classical music with hip-hop tracks from artists like the Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac Shakur. The decidedly unconventional performance is titled Resurrection Mixtape and will be performed this weekend at Symphony Hall. Here is just a bit of what audiences can expect.
Many battlefield stars were driven in plus cars. This life as a rap star is nothing without God. Was born rough and rugged, addressing the mass public. My attitude is sucky, cause everybody loving to be a soldier. Most men take composure at ease, though life is complicated. Only what you make it to be. They blast me, but they didn't finish.
The creator of that particular mashup, if you will, and other fusions of classical and contemporary music is our next guest. Steve Hackman, welcome to Arizona Horizon.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for being here. So, Resurrection Mixtape. If I'm completely oblivious to what this is, and I'm close, how do you describe it?
It is a fusion of the Mahler's Second Symphony, which is his Resurrection Symphony, and the music of Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac Shakur.
Why Mahler? Why these two rappers?
Mahler's second, again, is titled The Resurrection Symphony. Mahler, through this piece, tells the story. There's a narrative of beginning in funeral rites, and then by the end, through a sort of primal light, he gives us a peek at what the afterlife might look like. Tupac and Biggie, in their times, were obsessed with the idea of death. They tragically foretold their own death. And so the Resurrection Symphony by Mahler is a great backdrop and a narrative to which I can affix the story of Tupac and Biggie.
Are there ways that they especially complement each other? And are there ways that they oppose each other in such a way that it's new, it's different, it's exciting, it interests you?
I think just the emotional quality of the Mahler Symphony and again, the powerful narrative. I mean, you really feel like you're in this funeral procession in the first movement, and by the end, you do really feel like you might be peeking into heaven or the afterlife. And to accompany that narrative with their music is just, I think, very extraordinarily powerful.
How did the idea get started?
I've been doing these fusions of classical and contemporary work for a while, and this is just one of the newest ones. I was at a performance of the Mahler Second with the Philadelphia Orchestra at Carnegie Hall, and in that moment I thought I need to do something with this piece. And Biggie and Tupac are two legendary, crucial artists of our, of the last, kind of 30 years.
So it was Mahler first and the other two second, or were they first and you were looking for a place for them to go?
I would say there's a running list on both sides, the classical repertoire and the popular repertoire, that I know I would like to, to do a piece with one day, and so they were sort of both on the list.
And you combined Brahms with Radiohead, OK Computer. That was Brahms' first, I believe?
Correct.
And,
yeah.
What was that all about?
That was one of the first ones that I attempted, and it's one of the most often performed now. Radiohead, it started there because I thought, there's one band that classical musicians might accept and might be willing to tolerate a fusion of. It might be Radiohead.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of anxiety in Radiohead's OK Computer, and there also is in that Brahms First Symphony.
You mentioned that audiences would accept. Is there a concern that when audiences see and hear this, these are folks that go into Symphony Hall here, they're going to go, wait a minute, what's going on here? Is there a concern, or is that what you want?
Well, I actually said what the orchestra musicians would accept. So I think there's more of a concern, and it's been a dialogue that has been running now for many years between orchestras and myself about the purpose of this work and what the mission is of it, which is essentially to spotlight what they're doing in the repertoire that they play. I find audiences are very open-minded to it, and of course there might be some controversy, but hip-hop's also very controversial. Art is very controversial at times, so that's okay.
I think it was a TED Talk, you said if you're not controversial, you're not much.
There you go.
Yeah, explain that, please.
Well, I mean, that's just the concept. I mean, if you're going to go somewhere, go all the way there, go further than you ever thought you could ever go, and hopefully at that point, you'll be provocative.
So with that in mind, and you mentioned orchestras may be a little bit more hesitant than audiences, who is your targeted audience for this?
Well, it's on both sides. And all this work started because, I didn't grow up around other classical musicians. I sort of played the piano, but was in my own world. And so all my friends growing up were lovers of all this other popular music, whether it's Beatles or Radiohead or Tupac and Biggie. And I saw what passionate fans they were of that music. So I've always known that there's a connection that could be made between classical music and these listeners that just haven't been exposed to it yet. So they're the target audience, all these passionate lovers of these other kinds of music and these other artists.
And if there is a risk in alienating an audience or two or three, the fact is, I would think that you're still doing it. Whether they come along for the ride or not, it's one thing, but you are still doing it. You're still making the art.
Well, correct. And I mean, the hope here is that one becomes interested in music on either side. You know, ideally, someone comes to this performance having not heard of Mahler, but having heard of Tupac and Biggie, and then they see the Phoenix Symphony play a Mahler symphony, and they say, where can I hear more of this? But in reality, if someone takes issue with the idea of combining these two, they need only seek out every single other performance of the Mahler Second Symphony in the world, other than mine.
Well, and it's a way to, I would imagine, to explain Mahler's Second, to say this is what he was doing here. Whether some folks may not realize it, some fine arts, it's you know, people get confused, or not quite sure they understand what's going on. You could pretty much understand this, huh?
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I think there's certainly an argument to be made that by juxtaposing these two forms of art, all this music, you know, a new meaning might be revealed through seeing one through the lens of the other. I think that does happen.
Yeah, classical music in general. Where is it go? This is one place it can go, and it has gone. Where is it going in general? Is it just going to continue to be different versions of the same, you know, war horses, if you will, or can you combine? What's going on here?
I would think that evolution is a necessity. Will we always play the Beethoven Fifth Symphony and Mahler too? We will, and I'm so glad we will. We should until the end of time. But I think evolution like this, reimagining like this, recontextualizing it like this is necessary now. I think it's been necessary, you know, for maybe most of the 20th century even. And there's been you know, famous people that have done it. You know, you think of Leonard Bernstein, and who's a hero of mine, and I think it'll continue to be done.
And last question here, 20th century music, serialism, all that kind of stuff, can be really difficult to get into and to understand. It sounds as though this is much more accessible. Was that part of your plan?
Well, I'm choosing pieces, certainly on the classical side. You know, you said war horses. I mean, that's true. I'm choosing the pieces that I think would be the perfect first introduction to somebody, because, you know, we'll see this weekend, most of the people that come out probably have never been to the Phoenix Symphony, and that's an amazing opportunity. Yeah. So I'm choosing the pieces that if I had one chance, one shot, you know, to kind of convert them into a classical music fan, this is what I would play them.
Very good. Steve Hackman, again, it's Resurrection Mixtape. Congratulations on all your success and continued success, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.